Hey guys, real quick kind of tech tip video here. It's kind of a cautionary tale. I had a car not too long ago that I bought that was an old project car. And, this is kind of an often overlooked thing. Brake fluid. Brake fluid is important, and brake fluid really only fails under heavy brake load, which means when you slam on the brakes, which also means the time you need it the most to avoid an accident is when you don't want brake fade. Okay. So here's why you need to change your brake fluid. Whenever you buy a used car, you need to flush the brake system, and here's why. It's cheap too. Like this is not an expensive thing. It's something you need to do. Spend the whatever 20, 30 bucks, whatever it costs to do it yourself. So here's what happens, and I put this master cylinder up here just to illustrate my point. Brake fluid absorbs water, and you don't have to put water in it for it to absorb water. It absorbs it from the atmosphere. And there's a lot of different scenarios over the lifetime of a vehicle. So let's say you buy a car that's like a 1990 model car. That means that is a 34-year-old car at this point. That means over the lifetime of that car, this brake master cylinder booster, whatever, this cap's been off a bunch of times. Sometimes people will leave it like ajar. It won't seat properly. They'll snug it down, but they won't get it quite airtight. It's got a airtight seal under there. Sometimes they're working on it. They leave this open for like a freaking week before they get back to it. All the moisture from the atmosphere is going in there, that sort of thing. They bleed the brakes. Then all this moisture-filled brake fluid starts getting pumped down into your brake lines and getting closer and closer to your calipers. So that's just one scenario. But there's a lot of scenarios where over time, moisture is going to get into the brake fluid, and brake fluid fails because when water gets in it, it lowers its boiling point. So this brand new in the jar has a certain boiling point. And as it's exposed to air and ages, the boiling point gets reduced. And once the boiling point gets close to that of water, where the water builds up near your caliper, then it boils nearly at the temperature of water, which is pretty low. And your brakes get hot, so it doesn't take a genius to figure out, well, hot brakes and water, it's going to boil. And that boil creates bubbles, which now your brake system, instead of pushing against fluid, it's pushing against bubbles. And bubbles won't stop your car. So I just want this to be a quick cautionary tale. This is very overlooked. It's easy to overlook because brake fluid, unless it's dirty, unless you open this up and inside is like black, but even in this one, like this was fairly well maintained over the life of the car, but even that's got a bunch of crud at the bottom, and I have topped, like before I changed this out, I had actually topped this off with fresh fluid several times. So anyway, long story short, there's crud in these reservoirs, there's moisture in the brake fluid, and it's a safety issue. This is very cheap insurance. If you got to shell out 30 bucks to have the extra added safety of proper braking in time of an emergency or in time of trying to avoid an accident, hey, that's worth $30 to me. So very important when you get an old car that's a project car, or you get a new daily driver that's got some years on it. Definitely take the time, spend the money, drain all of this stuff. You really need to drain all the fluids, but the brake fluid is often overlooked because your brakes are going to work fine, right? Even if the fluid is really old and has a lot of moisture in it, if you're just driving slow and apply the brakes, you're not going to notice any difference. It's only once the temperature rises that the brake fluid's properties are going to change and become dangerous. So quick tech tip, don't overlook this cheap insurance policy.